Hey everyone, I'm Ray Thomas, Senior Recruiter with AWS's Infrastructure Organization and host of Becoming Awesome, AWS's weekly live stream podcast, highlighting the incredible humans at AWS, along with the journey and their learnings every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on AWS's Twitch channel and their careers YouTube channel. I use the same platform in studio to host hiring managers like my guest today, Jordan Watkins, who are hiring critical and sometimes peculiar roles like the one we'll be highlighting today for a brokerage operations manager, infrastructure, supply chain, and procurement. Now, this short video will provide insights you normally don't get sometimes from generic job descriptions. And we will cover Jordan's background, what's special about the role, who should really consider this, the true qualifications, and understanding Jordan's management style and team dynamics. And if by the end of this video you're inspired to learn more, take action by applying to the role with the link provided and start to have the conversation with the aligned recruiter and take it from there. So Jordan, welcome. And can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Ray, thank you for having me. And just what a neat platform for all of us to be here. So, really appreciate it. I'm Jordan Watkins, and so I am the senior manager for AWS Cloud Logistics. And could seem a little strange. We'll talk a little bit about more what that is and how that fits in the AWS world.
Mhm.
But it has been such a pleasure to be a part of the Amazon family and get to be here. So,
Awesome.
um, yeah.
How long have you been here, first off?
So coming up on 4 years with Amazon, worked on Amazon.com on that side for a little bit. Now about 2 years on the AWS side. So part of AWS for 2 years working within the logistics scope,
Mhm.
supporting all of our data centers as well as any of our kind of suppliers and component builds that we have that service everything in and out of a data center.
Gotcha. Excellent. Now, what's interesting when you and I first started talking prior to setting this up, you said that when they contacted you about this role, you're like, what in the world is that? How do I qualify for that? And I think, understanding that story will help tell the story about this role. So why don't you give us a quick highlight around that?
Yeah, so coming up for me, I always loved big things. I loved building things. I loved manufacturing. I loved physical, tangible products. And so part of my journey led me to other companies in different industries, working with planes, automotive,
Mhm.
trains, anything in that nature, because it was just this physical, immensive size and scale that I enjoyed. And went into Amazon as the leader in logistics, as we all know. And so for me, it was this great blend at that time in my career. And when I had the opportunity to join AWS, it seemed strange. It was like, whoa, what am I doing in cloud computing and space? And I work in logistics and manufacturing and operations. How does that fit within this world? And as I've come to explore that need, there is an intersection and dynamic that's so perfect between tech of how you support the internet as a whole through the infrastructure and hardware that's made to sustain it. And that's the blend that AWS Cloud Logistics live in. So we provide all of that infrastructure, that hardware, those components, anything you think that goes into the actual data centers. And then that is what supports all of our builders, all of our stacks, all of the development. And bringing those tech tools back into how we operate and how we run our business is actually the key to the success that we leverage within AWS Cloud Logistics is that utilization of our own resources and our own technology to optimize and maximize how we support the infrastructure builds as well as just the logistics and transports and fulfillment of all our products.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about this role itself. So it's called Brokerage Operations Manager. And it's for infrastructure, supply chain, procurement. So give me the quick highlight of it, and then we'll dive into more of like the real profile that we should be considering.
Yeah, so as we talked about, we deal with a lot of high-tech different components, and they come from all over the globe. There is a small handful of companies that actually can supply this level of technology that we're looking to procure, buy, and bring into our network. Through that, these products, we then bring them in by plane, boat, road, rail, all kinds of different ways to a global landscape. And that can hit different countries. With that, you end up having to go through customs. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot to know in that space, and there's a lot to deal with depending on where things originated, who owns the product, what the product is, and what the final destination is for that product. And then is that product to be transformed or not into something else? Because we build things. And so it may not just stay in its original form of I move box from here to there. You may transform that product into something else. And that's where this comes into play. So this role as brokerage managers, understanding where something originated from, what it is, what type of product it is, where it's going and what its final end state will be, and how you can move that through customs. So you're spending a lot of time either with our internal teams within AWS, working with global trade and product compliance. You're working with our finance teams. You might be working with brokers that we use, outsourced brokers and vendors that we provide, and with the suppliers themselves to ensure proper documentation, customs clearances, packaging, sizing, and then all of the logistics information that needs to happen when something hits those customs departments of different countries. Once it gets there, this role really partners with each of those countries. So it helps in this position specifically, which we're looking for more of that South America and Latin America. Do you speak some foreign languages? How well do you know those processes within those customs? Do you speak Portuguese? Where does that work across these other countries? Because you're reaching over and saying, I need to help get this product through customs in a safe, reliable, scalable manner on a repeatable basis.
Gotcha. So there's a couple of things that I want to dive into here. Now, you talked about like Latin America, and you said even in the job description, it lists fluency in Portuguese and or Spanish. So is it primarily to cover that whole region? Is that why you're looking for that for the person? Yeah.
Yeah, so in our organization, we span globally. We have different counterparts. And so this role is to look specifically within Latin America and South America. We do a lot of business right now, and it's growing in those countries. And therefore, being able to speak the local language really helps because emails come back from that in those languages. So do communications when you have to pick up the phone and call someone. Now, with that said, it's something we would love to have and it's preferred. If you've done business there, we all know that AI, we all know that translators are so much better these days, and there's ways that we can work with that. Though understanding the culture helps a lot too, because the way you conduct business in other countries is very different than you may say here for us in North America, or how you may do that in Japan, or how you may do that in the UK. There's different customs, there's different ways you interact. And so that's an important aspect as well, is if you have some experience doing work in Latin America or South America, it's always a plus to help streamline some of those processes and just the interactions we have with our customers.
Gotcha. So you mentioned something also earlier. There's only a few, partners that can provide some of the, materials that we need at the scale that we need, right? So talking about the scale and scope of the experience that this candidate needs to bring, when we hire candidates, we say, well, are they operating at the level that we need? Are they raising the bar, et cetera, right? So when they look at the functional skill set and their background, there could be a import export company that's smaller, and then there's slightly larger. So it just gets bigger and bigger. What type of history do they need to have? How big of an organization had they have worked in?
I would say the importance is how an individual thinks. And here at Amazon, we really push for that as leadership principles within learn and be curious, right? And how you would go do that. And then how you also could earn trust with our customers, and then how you will dive deep into something. Mm-hmm. And so those three leadership principles, I think, speak more about the individual than they may with where they've come from and what business they've operated in. You can be in a big business and miss some of that. You can be in a small business and miss some of that. So I would focus more there, to be honest, in this role. And I think what that means, you need to understand import or export of records. You need to understand our HTC codes. You want to think about INCO. You want to think about any types of tariffs or VATs or duties that need to be paid and understand some of those aspects. Though at this level, when we raise the bar, we're looking for individuals that can come in and start to think bigger of what would a free trade zone look like? How can we do this better? How can we consolidate loads to move through customs faster? Where may I stop and bring into a different port, or understand that right now there's geopolitical concerns going on in a certain region, therefore we want to avoid that? and not get red zoned or get put in the wrong path, but instead move to this other area and we can get through the same process. And so that kind of understanding and working with our supply base as well as our end customers on how we can deliver, that's the type of thinking we want, is living this role, living this passion that says, I'm not just coming in doing the same thing every day, making sure it happens. I'm actually inventing and simplifying. I'm earning that trust. I'm insisting on those highest standards. And that's where this role really comes alive, is you are looking to improve every day how we look at our data, how we transmit that data, how we look at geopolitical concerns or things that may come, as well as what can we do to be better and save money and deliver a better product and more value for our customers every day.
So I'm so glad you clarified that, right? Because I see a lot of people don't consider Amazon or AWS because they fear of the size of the organization that we are, thinking, hey, we need to come from a FANG that's already doing this or and whatnot, right? So people are filtering themselves out. And that's is why we're having this conversation itself, to clarify you don't need to have operated at the scale. The question is the data that we're going to get from the leadership principle type questions is whether you can, once we provide you the resources and the know-how, right? So that's super important. So now let's bring it back in, right? So who should consider this? What is the background for this person? You said, obviously, they have some of the import export, they speak in the language, understands to look at all the different things. Like I said, there could be geopolitical issues happening right now. How do you now deal with that, et cetera? What are some other things that we, from their experience, that they should have?
For this role specifically, anyone that is passionate about supply chain, and this is even what drew me personally to AWS and Amazon as a whole. If you want to be a part of the world's leading supply chain, the company that is changing how supply chains operate, do business, influence the market, set terms, and really are changing that idea of when you get something and what that expectation should be. Things arrive at your house now within one day. You click it, even sometimes just an hour. That is how Amazon operates, and we are changing the landscape. The type of person that should really look at this role should want to be and should be passionate about supply chain, growing it, setting the future of supply chain. And then on a more micro level, saying, I know import exports. I like working with different customer bases. I like looking at different countries and how we can get things through, understanding some government regulations, not being afraid of what that may look like or tax implications, and then wanting to go learn. A lot of these new countries we're expanding into are new to us as well. And so going to learn and understand it and having that curiosity to want to continue to grow personally and explore the new ways to be an expert. So I would say any industry and any person coming from any industry that is really a global focus of how we move things around the globe, yet has a technical application, because you still will use a lot of our data sets. You're still going to use a lot of our internal services that we provide through AWS for data analysis, for product moving, for planning, for even our financials. And that piece is the blend that takes that technical with an operational mindset, and you add that to a global view, and in this case, South America and Latin America with a main focus, you create that kind of candidate that is just perfect for this role.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Well, let's talk about you, right? So sometimes the role is cool, but you want to make sure you work with the right person. So talk to me about your leadership style. Like, because when we hire people that are always high performers in whatever they did. Doesn't matter if they're entry level, they're a high performer among other entry level folks, right? So, or someone very senior, same thing. How do you manage and how do you elevate high performers on your team?
There was a lot in there. And if I heard you, what you were asking me, right, is kind of, one, what's my leadership style? Two, how am I growing and fostering an environment for my team on a day-to-day basis, and what does that look like? Most leaders, I will say, in a lot of cases, may not always stop to pause to understand how they're leading an organization and what they're looking at. When you ask me, my mind jumps to, I love to have a vision. I love to set that vision out there and for all of us to stay true to that vision. The details around that vision at times can change. I have to be softer on the details, but we hold true to the vision of what we want to do and how we want to obsess over our customer and what we want to deliver there. for me, I'll take a moment. I just share a quick story of earning trust is so important. And so in this case, there's three people and they're walking through, and there's earth, there is fire, and there is trust. And they are going through and they're walking through the village, right? And they get to the end of the village. They're about to go out in the deep forest. And a little boy runs up and he says, "Hey, whoa, if you go out there, what happens if I lose you?" Well, fire goes, "Hey, don't worry. If you lose sight of me, where you see smoke, I'll be there. Just look for smoke. You'll see me." Right? Okay. And then boy goes, "Whoa, what about you?" And earth goes, "Hey, if you lose sight of me and you lose touch, all you have to do is look where there's green, there's growth, because that is me, earth." He goes, "What about you, trust?" And trust goes, "You better keep a close eye on me, because if you lose me, I'm really hard to find again." And I believe that, and I do that with my teams. It is about the trust that we build within each other and the trust we have with our customers. And so that's how I lead is let's never violate the trust amongst ourselves, let alone with our customers and our expectations. When we make promises, let's keep them. When we set deliverables, let's meet them. And so that is how we grow. And as a team, we're doing that together. And we keep marching towards that vision that we set out in front of us of how we want to be the Earth's best employer. And on top of it, we really want to just go deliver those results for our customers to make their day better every single day. Yeah.
What a story. I really, really love that. And it's such a great way to, talk about how important earned trust is for us. I tell people all the time when I'm prepping even candidates, I say earned trust is one of the unforgivable leadership principles. When we listen to your story, you're either someone we can trust or someone that we can't put in front of our customers. Like functionally, you could be perfect. You're exactly what we look for. But if the stories demonstrated, concerns where we would never do that with the customer, why would they ever do that, right? We have those concerns. It's something that we just can't risk because that's how much we care about our customers. So I'm so glad you shared that simple yet powerful analogy. So fantastic. So when it comes to earning trust, how do you foster diversity and inclusion on your team? Because there's also, diversity is also a thought too. So how do you foster that?
Inside of our organization and inside of AWS was born out of just an idea to do something different, right? AWS didn't exist, and it came from this whole idea of how we originally delivered books, then other products, and then, whoa, we have this cool capability that we can do even more. And that same day one mentality lives within our organization today. So within our team, all new ideas, ways to explore. Let's fail fast together and know that as a leader, I'm here as your backstop to make sure that it's nothing that just is catastrophic in our end, and we can fail together and learn and grow. Yeah. And so we keep trying a lot of this day one kind of mentality of let's try new things. That fosters the ability for diverse thoughts, because there isn't a fear that you may be rejected. There isn't a fear that if you have a bad idea, you're going to be failed and outcast. We just let it grow and we all learn together from it. We take the nuggets that we've learned and build something even bigger from that space. And so that's how inside of our team, I love to lead it. We keep driving to that vision of adding value to our customer, delivering products and shortening lead times, and really leveraging the data we have from that to do better the next time. So as those ideas build, it is day one. Let's start fresh. There's no bad ideas. And that builds the diversity within our team of thoughts, as well as the people we bring. So when we talked about what's the right candidate, they come from all over to support this type of business. And that helps foster such a different space for all of us within the organization.
Thank you for sharing that. And, we'll close it out with one last question for you. Ever since joining Amazon and AWS, what have you learned about yourself?
I've learned you can have a lot of fun in your career without even knowing it. And that's been the best part. There is sometimes a mindset that I personally had that you can get brought down by big companies and big bureaucracy on lots of different steps. And you walk into Amazon, let alone AWS specifically, and we are changing the way the world works. We are changing every day something different in this world. And it's so much fun. And there is freedom to be creative. There's freedom to have a diversity. There's freedom to just be yourself. And that type of inclusiveness fosters such a fun environment that feels safe, that you get to be your authentic self. And I've learned that about me of I don't have to act a certain way. I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not to impress someone else. We get to show up, change the world, make history, and do new things every day with the power of Amazon behind us and AWS data technology and infrastructure. It's unbelievable to get to have that kind of opportunity every day. So
Yeah.
I've really learned about the fun I'm having.
That's awesome. And then just look at us, right? I look at you like, you got like the blazer on and everything else. And I'm the guy that's always in the office with
Yeah,
a hat, with a graphic tee and whatnot. And that's what it is. You are who you are. We hired you because of how
exactly.
you think and how you would be with the rest of us, and
Oh,
whether you're going to do the right thing for the customers, right? So,
so true.
so again, appreciate it, Jordan. And for anyone watching this video, if you are inspired by the role, but even more inspired by Jordan and the way he thinks and he leads the team, click on the link for that brokerage operations manager role, and the line recruiter will reach out to you to share more information and go from there. All right. So thanks a lot, Jordan. I'll see you soon. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.